I work night shift as a guard in the Pine Shadows Mall. There is a strange list of rules. Have you ever ignored your instincts so completely that your own body rebelled against you hard-hammering? Skin crawling, something in your chest screaming, don't, but you did it anyway. For money, would you take a job that offers cash, no paperwork? No background checks, and only one real requirement: follow the rules. Even when the rules don't make sense. Even when they feel like they're written in blood instead of ink. Because I did. And now, I don't think I ever really walked away. It started 2 months ago. I was broke. Not the tight on cash broke. The kind of broke where your stomach becomes your alarm clock. Car totaled. Job lost, rent due, utilities overdue. Every text notification gave me a full-body spasm because it could be my landlord, the bank, or a collections bot, reminding me I was already underwater. It burned through all my favors. I was out of people to borrow from, out of lies to tell myself, and out of the kind of luck that keeps you coasting. Then I saw the ad, buried in a forgotten corner of Craigslist under the etc. Category: no images, just text. Night security needed, cash paid daily. Discretion required. No prior experience necessary. No background checks, must be punctual. Must follow the rules. There was a number, a name Marvin. Call between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. only. It reeked of desperation, and at that moment, I was fluent in it. I called at 9:04. Marvin picked up on the second ring. His voice was dry, clipped. Not unfriendly, just efficient. "You want the job?" he asked. Not "what's your name?" Not "tell me about yourself." I guess I need to know what it is first. Night security, Pine Shadows Mall. Starts tonight. That dead mall on the edge of town? Only mall still technically open, he said. Technically. No interview? Nope. No paperwork? Nope. You just hire people over the phone? I hire the ones who show up, he said, then gave me an address. Back entrance. 11:50 sharp. Don't be late. He hung up. Pine Shadows Mall used to mean something. I remember coming here as a kid. Birthday parties, movie premieres, pretzels and neon signs. It had a pulse then, a hum of life, echoing from every food court and arcade cabinet. But by the time I showed up, the place had already been gutted. Only a handful of stores still operated during the day, mostly clearance outlets, and dying franchises clinging to rent deals. At night, the place was a crypt, a concrete lung that had stopped breathing years ago. The lot was empty except for a dented blue sedan parked under a crooked light pole. The lamp above it flickered like it was fighting sleep. Marvin was leaning against the dock door, short and wiry, with skin like wax paper and eyes that moved more than he did. Every few seconds he glanced over his shoulder, like he was expecting the shadows to cough. "You're early," he said. "Is that a problem?" I frowned. "No. Late's bad," he replied. "How bad?" I asked with an intention to start a conversation, but he didn't answer. Instead, he handed me something, a laminated card the size of a phone. It looked homemade, faint scratches on the plastic, corners a little worn. "Read this," he said. "Memorize it. Don't break it. Don't bend it. Don't get clever." The card read, "Night shift guidelines, Pine Shadows Mall. Clock in by 11:55 p.m. Never later. Lock the main doors, all of them. Between 12:15 a.m. and 100 a.m. Avoid the east wing, no matter what you hear. If you see someone on the food court carousel, do not acknowledge them. Walk away. At 2:33 a.m., check the toy store. If the clown doll is missing from the window, leave immediately. Never fall asleep. I laughed before I could stop myself. "Are you serious?" Marvin didn't laugh with me, not even a smirk, just stared. "You think this is funny?" he said with something more than anger in his eyes. "Kinda. Rule 5 especially. The clown doll? Really?" I tried to explain. He leaned in, his voice low. "You follow the rules, or you end up like Gary." "Who's Gary?" I demanded. He stared at me for one long, unblinking second. then turned away, clock in at 11:55. Most sane people would have left, called a friend, laughed about it over beers. But I wasn't feeling very sane. I needed the money. I needed something. So I stayed. The interior of the mall felt worse than the outside. The temperature dropped the second I crossed the threshold. It wasn't the cold of poor heating, it was unnatural. Like the walls themselves had been sitting in a walk-in freezer. The lights buzzed overhead like dying insects. A sickly yellow hue flickered across cracked tile floors and shuttered storefronts. Some of the store names were still intact, but most were covered in grime or half-ripped signs. The kind that turns skin pale and shadows harsh. The scent was what hit me hardest. It wasn't the musty, closed-up air you'd expect. It was something sharper. A strange mix of burnt plastic and floral cleaner. Like someone was trying to hide the smell of something rotting beneath. I walked past old kiosks, abandoned booths with faded signs that once hawked phone cases and cheap jewelry. Dust clung to everything. The kind of dust that looks disturbed even when you're sure no one's touched it in years. All the storefronts were dark. Some still had mannequins in the windows, posed like frozen corpses in promotional gear. Others were completely stripped down, nothing but broken tile and torn-up carpet. A security desk sat near the central junction. Outdated monitors showed grainy black and white footage from various corners of the building. Half of them were static. I clocked in at 11:55 p.m. Exactly. The ancient punch clock beside the empty security office made a sickly crunching sound, then spit out my time card like it didn't want to touch it. I made my first round. I began locking every exterior door. Marvin had underlined that part on the card, every last one. Locked the 6 main entrances. Each one had a separate key. Some locks protested. One of them nearly snapped off in my hand like they didn't want to cooperate. I had to yank and push and swear under my breath as I turned the keys. By the time I got the last one bolted, my shirt was sticking to my back. But I got them all sealed by 1200 a.m. And then I stood at the edge of the East Wing. At exactly 12:15 a.m., I was standing at the junction that led to the East Wing. The air changed. It wasn't just colder, it felt heavier, thicker. The air that carried a hum not mechanical, but organic. Like a breath echoing through an old pipe. You'd think it'd be hard to ignore something ominous. You'd be wrong. The lights above the East Wing flickered faster than the rest of the mall. The kind of flicker that looks like strobe lighting. And beyond the first few storefronts, the hallway stretched into darkness. The East Wing wasn't just dark, it was wrong. And then it began. Children laughing, soft, musical, coming from nowhere and everywhere all at once. The kind of laughter that should have made you smile, but instead made your stomach knot. There were no kids in that mall. There hadn't been for years. The laughter echoed like it was bouncing through drain pipes, joyful and twisted. I heard a song know, a rhyme something about spinning and catching and counting to 10. I stood frozen, eyes locked on the darkness stretching down the hall. My instincts screamed at me to check it out. That's what security guards do, right? No, I didn't investigate. The card in my pocket was suddenly heavy, almost hot. My hand moved to the card in my pocket. Avoid the East Wing, no matter what you hear. So I turned, walked away. Every step was like walking through water. Heavy, reluctant, but I obeyed. As soon as I passed the vending machines and left the corridor behind, the laughter stopped. Dead silence. That made it worse. That was the first time I felt it watching me. Not Marvin, not a person. The mall. Like the building itself knew I was there. This mall at night was a different beast. I'd seen dead malls before, passed them off as nostalgic eyesores. But Pine Shadows wasn't just empty, it was hollow. Like the walls had absorbed every scream, every whisper, every echo of life, and decided to keep them. My next round took me to the food court. Most of the chairs were stacked, but a few remained scattered, as if someone had sat down to eat years ago and never got up again. The floor tiles were cracked in places. The neon signs above the former vendors flickered with ghost colors. And then I saw it. The carousel. It sat in the center of the food court like a relic. A small, child-sized ride with peeling paint and silent horses mid-gallop. The kind of thing you'd expect to find in a 1980s arcade commercial. I'd noticed it during orientation, but didn't think much of it until now. Because someone was on it, a man wearing a gray hoodie, sitting completely still atop a faded white horse with blue reins. His head was tilted slightly downward. I couldn't see his face. Every inch of my body tensed. I wasn't sure how he'd gotten in. Every door was locked. No alarms had tripped. No cameras had pinged. Nothing made sense. I didn't look at him long. Just long enough to feel the wrongness radiating from him like heat from an open oven. The rules came back to me. Rule 4. Do not acknowledge them. Walk away. So I did. My pace steady, breath shallow, eyes forward. As I rounded the corner into the storage hallway, I allowed myself one glance back. The carousel was empty. No sound, no motion. Just me and the sick realization that I'd been watched. 2:33 a.m. The moment burned into my memory now. But that night, I approached the toy store with curiosity more than fear. The glass windows were grimy, streaked with years of fingerprints and smudges. Old displays sat gathering dust-wooden trains, off-brand action figures, plastic dinosaurs. And in the window, right where the rules said it would be the clown. It was about 2 feet tall, red yarn hair, painted white face, cracked smile. A red nose that looked like it had been jammed on crooked. Its eyes were painted with long black lashes and little blue teardrops beneath each one. It was still. Harmless, but I swear to you it looked aware. I stared at it longer than I should have, waiting, wondering. Then I exhaled. My throat had gone dry, my legs were stiff. But nothing had happened. The doll was still in place. That meant I was safe for now. When dawn broke, Marvin was waiting for me by the back entrance, arms crossed, eyes unreadable. "You did good," he said, like he didn't expect me to. I wanted to ask questions. About the clown, the man on the carousel, the East Wing, all of it. But before I could open my mouth, he was already walking back toward his car. I told myself it was just stress, that I was overreacting, that my brain was filling in blanks like it always did. When things felt too quiet, I figured I could muscle through, make it a week, stack enough cash to get my car fixed and buy some breathing room. But the mall didn't work like that. Pine Shadows doesn't let you adjust. It waits, it watches, and then it changes the rules. Night 3 is the shift that broke me. That was the night I made my first real mistake. It wasn't anything dramatic, just 2 minutes late. I missed clock in by 2 goddamn minutes. My ride bailed on me last second, said her cousin got sick or arrested or both, and she had to turn around. The buses stopped running before 11, and I didn't have cash for a cab, so I ran. Literally ran, across town, through a cold spring night, lungs on fire, shoes slapping pavement like they were trying to fly off my feet. The whole way there, I kept checking the time on my burner phone. 11:40, 11:47. 11:52, 11:54. 11:56. I was still outside the mall, 11:57. I slipped my badge into the clock and heard it punch the time. 2 minutes late. I stood there, panting, sweat freezing on my neck, staring at the card like the numbers might change if I looked hard enough. But they didn't, and the mall felt it. The lights were different. They buzzed louder, like angry bees trapped in glass. The hum wasn't consistent anymore, it warbled in and out, like static through a dying speaker. The air itself carried a weight, thick and uneasy. Every shadow felt a foot too long. Every step echoed a beat too late. Then the radio started crackling. At first, I thought it was just interference, bad batteries, or dust in the wiring. But the sounds weren't random. They had rhythm, patterns. Phrases almost spoken too fast and too low to catch fully. It was like something was trying to talk through the static. Then I noticed the doors. Doors I had locked on previous nights were now wide open. Not all of them. Just enough to make it feel deliberate. Like they wanted me to check. I didn't. I turned right around and locked them again, fast. The second the deadbolts clicked into place, I heard something move on the other side. Not a person, not an animal. Something else, 12:15 a.m. The east wing began to breathe. I don't have a better word for it. The whole hallway felt like a throat inhaling. Air pressure shifted, lights dimmed. Then came the footsteps, heavy, slow, measured. Not the patter of a child, not the shuffle of a homeless squatter. These sounded like boots, big ones, and dragging behind the metal. Like someone was pulling a length of chain or scraping a shovel across tile. I couldn't breathe. I backed into the janitor's closet, shut the door behind me, and sat on a bucket with my hands clenched around my radio, listening to something move just outside. I didn't come out until 101 a.m. When I did, the hallway was empty. Except for the floor, scratches, long deep gouges in the tile, as if someone had taken a rake and dragged it violently across the ground in looping patterns. Some were in arcs, others straight lines. But they all stopped just inches from the janitor closet door. I didn't say a word the rest of the shift. I didn't even breathe loud. Marvin was waiting for me the next morning, as usual. But this time, he didn't speak. He just handed me a new laminated card. It wasn't worn like the others. It was fresh, clean. Like it hadn't been handled before, I flipped it over. Updated night shift rules, Pine Shadows Mall. If you miss clock in, stay outside. Don't come in until 101 a.m. Apologize aloud when you do and hope it's accepted. If you hear any strange sounds, close your eyes and chant, "We shall obey. We shall obey." If doors are unlocked when they shouldn't be, relock them, fast. Never open the gate to the children's play area. Not even if you hear crying. I held the card for a long time. Marvin didn't say anything, just watched me. Like he was studying a patient who'd just been told they were terminal. "Who writes these?" I finally asked. He shook his head. "They write themselves." The next several nights were hell. I started seeing things. Not full hallucinations, just quick flashes. Something flickering in the corner of my eye. A silhouette ducking into a store aisle. A face behind a window that wasn't supposed to have anyone inside. Once, while walking past the sunglass hut, I saw a woman behind the counter. She was too still, her arms hung at her sides. Her hair was jet black and bone straight, falling in perfect strands over a face that looked wrong. Smooth. Too smooth. Like someone had drawn it in a hurry and forgotten the eyebrows. Her eyes were all black, no whites, no irises. Just glassy voids staring through the display glass like it wasn't even there. She didn't blink. She smiled. I did not smile back. I moved fast. Didn't break stride. Didn't turn around. But when I got to the end of the hall and glanced back, the sunglass hut was empty again. I started talking to myself just to keep focused, reciting the rules like mantras, whispering songs I barely remembered from childhood, making up names for the mannequins so they felt less threatening. It didn't help, but it gave me something to do besides panic. And then came the worst night. It was 2:33 a.m., the moment I'll never forget. Ever. I made my way toward the toy store like always, heart pounding, mouth dry. The mall was pin-drop silent. Not even the flickering buzz of overhead lights. I got to the display window, and the clown was gone. No wide grin, no plastic limbs. Just an empty spot on the shelf with a faint imprint in the dust, where it had been sitting. I froze. Every inch of me wanted to believe I was wrong. That maybe they moved it during the day. That maybe it fell off. Maybe anything. Then I heard it, a giggle, right behind me. I turned. Slowly, like my bones had forgotten how to work. There it stood, the clown, upright, in the middle of the corridor. Its head tilted to one side like it was trying to understand me. Its arms hung loose, fingers curled inward like hooks. Its smile painted, but somehow too wide. It took a step, tap, and then another, tap. I didn't wait for a third. I bolted. I don't know how I ran that fast. I just know my legs moved before I even told them to. I tore down the hallway. past the carousel, past the food court, down the west wing. When I reached the loading dock door, I fumbled with the keys, hands shaking. Keys clinking, another giggle. Closer, I turned, 10 feet away. The clown stood there, still smiling. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember bursting into the parking lot and collapsing against the concrete, gasping for air that didn't smell like death and bleach. Marvin was there, standing next to his rusted-out sedan, arms crossed. You saw it, didn't you? I nodded. Couldn't speak. You left before your shift ended, he said. It was going to kill me, I choked out. He didn't deny it. He just said, yeah. That's usually what happens when the clown moves. I didn't come back the next night, or the one after that. In fact, I stayed away for an entire week, the longest 7 days of my life. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that clown doll. Head tilted, feet twitching with anticipation. I saw the empty toy store shelf. I heard the click of its little shoes on the tile. But the worst part? I missed it. I missed the twisted predictability, the rules, the structure. I missed knowing when to be afraid and when I could breathe again. Normal life didn't offer that, at least in Pine Shadows. The monsters made sense. They told you how to survive. The money ran low again. I rationed it, skipped meals, sold my gaming console. Even sold my dad's old watch, the one thing I'd kept after the funeral. But by the 7th day, I was staring at an empty fridge and an eviction notice taped to my door. That laminated card, the one with the updated rules Marvin gave me, was still sitting on my table. I hadn't opened it again, couldn't bring myself to, but I kept thinking about one line. Rule 2 from the updated night shift protocols. If you hear any strange sounds, close your eyes and chant, "We shall obey, we shall obey." What got under my skin wasn't the threat itself. It was what the rule implied, that the strange sounds weren't a possibility. They were a guarantee. The rule wasn't there just in case something happened. It was written because they knew it would, like it was routine. Like it was scheduled, like it had a shift of its own. Like whatever was out there wasn't just haunting the place, it was running it. I showed up that night at 11:50 p.m., no call ahead, no warning. Just walked through the back door like I never left. And Marvin was there, sitting in the security office this time, sipping something from a styrofoam cup. He didn't look surprised. He looked like he'd been expecting me. "Are you ready to stop running?" he asked. "I'm not sure," I said, "but I'm broke." He nodded. Pulled out another laminated card. The edges were silver this time, not gray. Not white, silver, final protocols, Pine Shadows Mall night security. If the clown appears again, you have 2 minutes to leave the mall. If the man on the carousel waves at you, wave back. Then close your eyes and count to 10. Never speak to the cleaning woman. She's not real. If you receive a call from an unknown number between 2:22 and 2:44 a.m., end the call immediately and shut off your phone. Above all else, do not question the rules. It was the last line that got me. Not just the words, but the tone. The desperation under them. Do not question the rules. Not can't, not shouldn't. Do not. It read like a warning to me personally. Like it knew I was the kind of guy who would start pulling at threads. That night was the one he'll never forget. It started like the others, walking the same routes, locking doors, checking cameras. But tonight felt different. Something was in the air. Something heavy and oppressive, like the mall itself was holding its breath. I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone, despite the fact that I was. At around 100 a.m., I walked past the food court again. The carousel was silent. The horses empty. The air was thick with the musty smell of old popcorn and stale air conditioning, and the lights flickered above. Then I heard her. The faint sound of someone humming. I stopped in my tracks, my heart thudding in my chest. It wasn't a laugh this time. It was eerie hum tune that made no sense, as if it was part of a forgotten lullaby. I couldn't pinpoint where it was coming from, but the mall felt alive in a way it hadn't before. I glanced down the hallway and froze. A woman stood near the janitor's closet, sweeping. She wore an old, faded uniform with the name Edna stitched across the front. She was humming to herself, her back to me as she pushed the broom back and forth across the floor. I didn't recognize her. I'd never seen her before. She was scrubbing tiles near the pretzel stand. She was talking to herself, or to the mop, or to the air. It was hard to tell. I froze mid-step. I knew the rule: never speak to the cleaning woman. But then she looked up, right at me, and she said, "They never listen." Even the rules are part of the trap. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't mean to respond. I swear I didn't, but something inside me cracked open. "What do you mean?" I asked. Her smile twisted, not in a friendly way. In a skin-tearing, cheek-splitting, meat-pulling kind of way. Her mouth stretched past the limits of her face, revealing rows of crooked, two human teeth and something behind her eyes that didn't blink. "They write the rules so you feel safe," she whispered. "But safety is the first lie." Then she lunged. I fell back hard onto the tile. The wind knocked from my lungs. Her face was inches from mine. Her eyes glowed like dying embers. Her breath reeked of bleach and rot and something else static. I screamed, kicked. Her body hit the floor like smoke. No weight, no substance. She vanished in a cloud of gray mist that hissed and curled and drifted upward like steam from boiling skin. I didn't go for the exit this time. I ran to Marvin's office. I needed answers. I needed the truth. I needed sense. The office was dark, empty, no sign of him. But the desk drawer was open, and inside it, I found a folder, the one he must have given all of us. Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Polaroids, old ID badge printouts, security cam stills. Each face marked with a name. Each name with a note beside it. Gary broke Rule 5. Clown took him. Sam East Wing at 12:22. Lost. Lena spoke to a cleaning woman. Assimilated. Dan talking back. Becoming aware. My name. At the bottom. In red ink. Under it, initiate protocol. Let him run. Let me run? Like I was part of a test, or a trial, or a joke with a punchline no one gets to laugh at. I felt sick. Because if they let me run, that means they knew I would. That they wanted it. That maybe they needed it. I grabbed the folder and bolted. And this time, the mall didn't fight me. The doors opened on the first try. No jammed lock, no clown doll. No children laughter, just me and the night air. I didn't stop running until I reached the main road. Didn't stop until I saw headlights and pavement and a gas station with flickering fluorescent signs. That looked positively divine compared to what ID just escaped. Now I'm here, sitting in a diner at 3:14 a.m. Writing this down on napkins and scratch paper, watching the front entrance. Flinching every time the bell chimes above the door. Not because I'm worried someone from the mall will find me, but because I think something already did. There's a man sitting outside. Gray hoodie, hood up, just staring through the window. He hasn't moved in over 30 minutes. And the waitress keeps asking why I'm talking to myself, but I'm not. I'm talking to her. The cleaning woman is standing behind the counter, still smiling, so I'll end with this. Have you ever read a story that didn't feel like a story at all, just a warning in disguise? If someone ever offers you a job at Pine Shadows Mall, say no. No matter how broke you are, no matter how desperate. Because once you clock in, you're not just working a job. You're signing a contract you don't understand. And if you've already worked there, check your pocket. You might find a card. A new one, with your rules. And next time they might not let you leave. If you enjoyed the story, consider subscribing. But don't blame me if you can't sleep tonight. Until next time, keep the lights on and the doors locked. Goodbye.